Okay, let's analyze the position. Take a minute to pause the video. Try to find out the best moves here. We are white, and it's white's turn to play. Okay, let's analyze the position for a second and look at the interesting elements that can make rise for some interesting tactics. Now, first of all, one of the things that I think are very obvious in black's position, the fact that the king is not castle. So, anytime that king is not castle, this is a possibility, opportunity for some really interesting tactics. Different checks, forcing moves, and so on. Um, we also see the fact that this black bishop is basically an unprotected piece, which also can trigger some very interesting possible tactics. Um, in terms of white's position, we see that the king is castled, but at the same time quite exposed. So maybe it's important that white moves with energy and starts attacking the black king. And the fact that the black pieces are not well developed and white can attack here and create some really interesting threats. So if we looked at checks, capture, threats, I don't see anything interesting in terms of checks. I mean, we have this, but then it's protected by the queen. We don't see any major follow-up. We do see also this possible check here, but this is also protected by the queen. And again, we don't see a very interesting follow-up. But I do see that in terms of geometry of the board, look at this, let's call it um, not the square, but the triangle, right? Where we have the king, possibly the white queen, and also maybe we can attack the bishop at the same time. That's something that experienced chess players always see on the board. Okay, they look at unprotected pieces, they look at the king, which is in the center, and something in the position should bring you should trigger your attention to possible tactics. And if we look at this very interesting move, which is a major threat by moving the pawn to e6, obviously we're threatening the queen. The queen cannot capture back because of the white bishop, which is protecting the pawn on e6. So it seems that the most reasonable move here by black would be to capture the pawn, right, with the pawn on f7, and that exactly will create this double attack on the king and the bishop. So the way to analyze this position is, make sure you look at the diagonals, especially for the queen, the bishops, obviously, and then what type of attacks and it can create. Look at unprotected pieces. Look at the position of the king. This is a very strong threat. The pawn is very well positioned in the center. This also, gives you a great example of why it's so important to have a strong center. You can have your pawns rolling forward, making some real threats on your opponent's position. And again, if we take a look at another possibility, if black sees this threat of opening the diagonal here and Matt Sandon of the queen retreats, basically black's position collapses. The king cannot capture the pawn because of the bishop. Right? They move out here. We take on this piece. The king is in the center. He cannot castle. And basically a total lost position for black. So I hope you like this tactic. I think it's very interesting, very instructional, and we'll see you in the next video.